Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, to our speaker and all the participants.
Dean sir, welcome sir. Mohan sir. Dr. Mohan Kumar sir. Dean. Come on, share the screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sharing, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Nagarjuna Group of Institution is very famous group of institution. It has 5 educational institutions. All the education institutions are eminent institutions. And NCET, Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, has all famous and popular engineering, technology, and management courses. It has engineering, technology, and management courses, and it is accredited by NBA and NAC with A grade. And institution is Atal ranked by Atal ranking of institutions, ARIA ranked institution, and it is permanently affiliated to Visvesvaraya Technological University, and it is very famous in Karnataka region and very popular in national and international level in the case of eminent engineering and technology field. Thank you.
Okay, this is the small tour about NCET. So now I would like to request our speaker to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
So, Pramod, 1 second. Pramod?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, just Sir Mohan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just I'm trying to request Sir Mohan, sir, 1 minute.
Yes, Professor.
So now I would like to request Dr. Mohan Kumar, yes, Dean Academic Quality Assurance. So I would like to request to speak few words here, sir.
Yeah, so good morning to one and all gathered here. Dear professors, head of the departments, and associate professors, participant faculties and students from outside the colleges, and students and staff members and faculty members of NCET. My hearty welcome to you to this informative and purposeful and meaningful session. This topic is utmost important and so much in demand. And I would like to thank Professor and Head CS and IS and faculty, senior faculties and professors who are coordinating this event. Again, I'm telling this topic is utmost important and so much in demand. So I request all the participants to make use of this session. And my hearty welcome to Dr. Mohan, who is our today's guest speaker, resource person. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gopinath. We can proceed.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So now I will request our respected HOD, sir, Dr. Dinesh, sir, to speak a few words here, sir.
Yeah,
Dinesh, sir.
seeking the blessings of management and with our beloved principals wishes, and so I really appreciate the coordinator involvement, Professor Prasad and Professor Gopinath. And also, I really my gratitude to Dr. Mohan sir for helping CS and other department in all the way in conducting webinars and different topics that are cutting edge technology and bringing a great resource from the different place of the Bangalore and Karnataka. So we really appreciate all this. And so anyhow, so with respect to this topic, anyhow, our technical professor resource is already there to present. And also, so I warm welcome to all the students of my dear students who should utilize this session, be present completely, okay, mentally, and understand the topics, and please utilize a complete 1 hour session for understanding and digesting this particular topic, which may help in career and placement and all the related aspects. So thank you, sir. With this, I can conclude my session. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. So now, Dr. Mohan BSF, because it will get confused.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, you can take over the.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
Right, sir.
You can
Good
share
morning,
my-
guys. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Is my screen visible?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Now it's visible.
Yes, sir. Good morning, all. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Jitendranath Murugan, sir, Principal, and Dr. Mohan Kumar S, Dean, sir, and HOD, sir, HOD, sir, and other senior faculties and coordinators who are involved in conducting this webinar, and all my participants. Okay, so today we'll be discussing on microservices and containerization. Okay, this is an cutting edge technology, as I told. Nowadays, the companies, IT industry is shifting towards microservices. Okay, so we'll see the difference between the traditional architecture and this microservice architecture, why these companies are migrating to this technology. And this containerization is an enabling technology for microservices. Okay, so that is the main topic title of the webinar. So in the agenda, we'll be discussing about what is microservice and why it is so important. We'll see features and disadvantages, advantages and advantages of microservices. Of course, there are the disadvantages also. We'll discuss the disadvantages also, and best practices to design microservice. Okay, companies using microservices. I'll list few companies. I'm listing few, but there are many companies who have migrated, and still companies are in transition phase. And what is the containerization, and which is the implementation of microservices on containers, and we'll see some hands-on demo on features like service scaling, load balancing, and fault tolerance. Okay, nowadays the companies demand applications which has all these features. The application should be scalable, and that should balance the load, and it should be fault tolerant. Okay, so we'll see some demo on these features. Okay, now first of all, what is microservices? We know what is service. A service is a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes that customer want to achieve. Okay, or we can, in simple terms, we can say a service is something that meets a need or fulfills a demand. Okay, that's what the service is. Now the companies, IT companies are providing services to each customers. Customers can be other companies, IT companies, or non-IT companies, or it can be the end users also. Okay. Now that is the service. It is something that meets a need. Now, what is this microservice? Microservice is a small part of a service. Okay, in a simple words, we can say microservice, as the name says, micro. Micro means small. Small part of a service is microservice. That's all. Okay. Now, developing each function of an application as an autonomous, independently running microservice is nothing but microservice. This usually runs in a container or a cloud server. Okay. Each microservice answers to a single function like search, shipping, payment, accounting, payroll, etc. So, when we say an e-commerce application, all these functionalities will be provided by a single service. What will happen when we break up the service? It's going to achieve advantages like scaling up, auto dynamic scaling, load balancing, fault tolerance, other features. In today's session, we'll see how breaking an application into microservices can achieve all these features. Okay, so microservices are increasingly used in the software development world. Okay, as developers work to create larger and more complex applications, it is better to break down a service into microservices, which enables developers to manage it easily, and developers can extend its functionalities. Okay, so that is the benefit of microservices. So we can see the difference between the traditional architecture and microservice architecture. Traditional architecture is also called as monolithic architecture, and we have microservice architecture. Okay, see what will happen in monolithic architecture. All the features were under a single instance, sharing a single database. Okay, all the features like all the services we can see the customer service, product service, and card service are all running in a single instance. Okay, are running in a single instance. Whereas in microservice architecture, they are separated. Okay, they are separated into microservices. One service, customer service, is managed by one microservice, and product service is managed by other microservice, and card service. There can be hundreds to thousands of microservices running in an application, complex application. By breaking down that complex applications into microservices, managing the services it becomes very easy. So not only the managing, we get other benefits out of it. Okay, we'll discuss benefits out of it. Now, first let us see what are the disadvantages of traditional architecture. Okay, so disadvantages of traditional architecture. So, as I told, in traditional architecture, all the services are built on a single instance, will built as a single application, and then runs on a single instance. Okay, whereas in microservice architecture, each service is separated. What is the problem? By combining all the services into a single application. So these are the problems or the drawbacks of monolithic architecture, that is the traditional architecture. As all the services are combined into a single application, the application becomes inflexible. Okay, inflexible. This traditional application cannot be built using a different technologies. Suppose initially when the application started with say some technology framework, then throughout the life cycle of the software or the application, we cannot move to the latest technology. We know every day new technology is coming to the market. So if an application is started say 5 years back, then we should stick on to the old technology which the application was started. Okay, so there is no provisioning of changing or migrating to the technology. That is one disadvantage. It's not flexible. Okay, monolithic architecture is not flexible. Whereas in microservice architecture, as we build every service as a separate application, we can easily upgrade to the latest technology. Okay, and these microservices need not, all microservices need not work on same technology. Okay, like customer service can be implemented in one technology, and payment service may be implemented in other technology. Later, if they want, they can migrate. Okay, without affecting the other microservices, they can migrate that microservice without affecting the other services. Okay, that is the flexibility we will get it from microservice. And unreliable. See, this traditional architecture is unreliable because all the services and the functionalities are tightly coupled. If one function fails, the whole system will be down, right? So it is not reliable. Whereas in microservice architecture, if one service fails, it will not affect the other services, as other services are loosely coupled. Only the faulty service will be isolated, okay, and other services will be running. So it will not put the system completely down. Only that feature may not be working. Okay, may not be working. That is the second disadvantage of traditional architecture, and unscalable. Okay, so the applications which are developed using traditional architecture are unscalable. It is very difficult to scale. Scale means scaling in service or application means initially we develop an application for serving 1,000 users. Later, when the user base increases, when the number of users visiting the site increases, then this application we have to make provision for more computation and make provision for memory, storage, etc. Scaling this application is very difficult. If I want to scale this application, I have to shut down the system and do the modification, rebuild and host it. Okay, so it is not easily scalable. It is very difficult. Okay, whereas in microservices we can easily scale. Suppose initially 1,000 users are accessing. I have 10 instances of the same service running in the microservices. When the number of users increases, I can add upon a few more services, similar services, okay, without affecting the other parts of the system. Okay, that is the benefit of microservice when it comes to the scalability. Okay, and blocks continuous development, as all the functionalities in the traditional system are tightly coupled. If I want to update any block, then I should put the system down. Okay, that is not good practice. So nowadays the companies or the customers demand for zero downtime. What do you mean by zero downtime? They don't want server to even shut down for 1 minute also. They want servers to be continuously running. Okay, that's what zero downtime. So blocks continuous development, because of its tightly coupled, we cannot update, do development process continuously. Okay, so whereas in microservice architecture, we can update a particular service. Say if I want to update a service, I will not disturb other services. I will let the current service running in the system. Parallelly, I will take the instance of the service. I will add updates. I will do any changes to the that application, and I'll rebuild and I'll host it. Once confirm that the updated version is running, I'll shut down the older version. Okay, version which is running the older update. Okay, so it allows continuous development and updation, microservices. And the other drawback of traditional is slow development. Okay, these traditional applications takes a lot of time to be built, since each and every feature has to be built one after the other. Okay, there is a lot of dependencies between the modules or the functionalities in the traditional approach. Okay, as all these are tightly coupled, So it is very slow in development process. Whereas in microservices, each service will be developed by a separate team of software developers. Okay, so every service will be developed by a separate team, and parallelly, microservices dependencies are very less. Teams can develop the software very fast and they can integrate it. Okay, and these microservices will communicate with the help of HTTP REST protocol or any middleware messaging protocol. Okay, it is very simple. A communication between these microservices is also simple. Okay, not fit for complex applications. Okay, this traditional architecture is not fit for complex applications. Okay, as scaling is very difficult in traditional application, we cannot scale the traditional application, so it is not meant for a complex application. Complex applications are have to be scalable, reliable, and flexible. Okay, as this traditional architecture doesn't support this, so it is not well suited for a complex application. So these are the disadvantages of traditional architecture. All these disadvantages or challenges can be overcome by the microservice architecture. So what exactly is microservice? So microservice is an architectural style that structures an application as a collection of small autonomous services modeled around a business domain. Okay, you can see in the diagram, in the middle there is a business domain, and we place all the services around the business domain. Okay, what do you mean by placing microservices around the business domain? These microservices will perform part of that business logic. Okay, it performs, it enables to implement a single business capability. Okay, that business capability can be anything, as we have seen in e-commerce site. It can be payment service, or it can be a catalog service, or it can be customer service, or it can be vendor service, etc. Okay, so the large application built using this architectural pattern can be broken down into smaller multiple services, microservices, which together act as one large system behind the scene. Okay, this breaking down the application to microservices is done in the back end, so the user will not be knowing that there are multiple microservices running behind the server. Okay, the end customer will see the function of all the services as a single server providing the service. Each microservice is self-contained and implements a single business capability. As I told, each service performs a part of a business logic, executes a part of business logic. Okay. Altogether will provide a single service, but in the backend they will be performing part of a business logic. So what are the benefits that we achieve from microservices? By dividing a big application into small microservices, developers can focus on a single business capability, leading to better quality and throughput. Right? This is one valid point. Mixed technology software stack. Okay, as I told, each service can be implemented using the latest technology. There is no dependencies. Okay, one microservice can use one technology, other can use other technology, and later they can easily migrate to one or more services can easily migrate to the latest technologies without affecting the other microservices. That is the mixed technology software stack. Communication between microservices is through well-defined interface, usually HTTP REST, or it can be a messaging middleware. Okay. In microservice architecture, the data is federated. So what do you mean by federated? As there are multiple microservices, the database is also split into multiple databases. Okay. What is the advantage we get from multiple databases? We can avoid the bottleneck to a single database. Okay. What will happen when multiple services access a single database? There is a bottleneck. Okay. So to avoid that, each microservice can maintain its own database, or we can minimize the sharing of the database to avoid the bottleneck. Okay. Of course, this leads to one more problem called as inconsistency. Okay, data inconsistency. So of course, microservices has got both advantages and disadvantages. the company which is adopting this has to take care of all those disadvantages to get maximum benefit of this architectural pattern. Okay. So in the overall, we can say microservice is an software development pattern. Okay. It's a software design and architecture pattern. Okay. And next point is highly maintainable and testable. Okay. As application is divided into microservices, maintaining a small service is easier than the maintaining a whole application, and testable. If I want to test a small microservice, I can do it. Okay, I can easily test the microservices, as these microservices are independent and they are autonomous, loosely coupled. Okay, as I told you, the microservices are loosely coupled. We have advantages like I already discussed, right? We can upgrade a single service without affecting the other services if it is loosely coupled. If it is tightly coupled, when I try to update one functionality, it affects the other functionality. Tightly coupled means we can say dependencies, more dependencies. Loosely
Your voice is not audible, Professor. Professor Mohan,
Sir Mohan, sir.
can you coordinate Professor Mohan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll call
Sir,
you.
I'm here, sir. Sir, I'm here, sir. We are here. We'll be on contact.
Yeah, yeah,
Sir,
yeah. Actually,
You both
Mohan's
will-
voice is, yeah. Tell him to share screen again and voice.
Yeah, I'll talk with him, sir. Something network issue, I think. I'll call him, sir. I'll call him back.
Yeah.
Sorry, friends. Sorry for the interruption. Am I audible now?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please share your presentation and you start.
Yes, sir. I will share the screen, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, I was discussing about loosely coupled. Shall I start from there?
Yes, sir.
1 second, students. Okay, students. Shall I start from loosely coupled?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, ma'am. Thank you. Have you understood loosely coupled, or shall I repeat that once again?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Understood. Okay, then. I'll go to the next point. Independently developed, update, and deployable. So, as these microservices are developed by a separate team of developers, these services can be independently updated and redeployed without affecting the other microservices in the system. Okay, that's what this point talks about. And then next point is fault isolation. Fault isolation, what it means, if one service fails, it will not affect the other services because all the services are loosely coupled. There is minimum dependencies. If one service fails, that will not affect the other services. Okay, that is the fault isolation. Only that faulty service will be isolated and remaining services will be running as usual. Okay, then granular scaling. This is one more important point that we should understand. What do you mean by granular scaling? How do we scale the traditional application? Already one instance is running. We will run same instance in other system. Okay, so here as a whole application we can scale it. But when it comes to the microservices, say if I want to scale a particular service, okay, one good example I'll give in this situation. You might have heard of flash sales, right? Flash sales are advertised by Amazon or Flipkart. Okay, flash sales. So usually the traffic will be normal when the Amazon announces flash sale. The number of visiting to the website increases drastically. Okay, suddenly the number of users increases. Flash sale, they'll announce the date and time. Okay, during that date and during that time, the number of users visiting to purchase that new product, which is sold by the e-commerce website, drastically number of visitors increases. Okay, the e-commerce website which is adapting to these microservices can scale a particular service. Okay, can of course the number of items sold will be limited, so number of payments done online will be limited. There is no point scaling the payment service, but number of users visiting the website portal is more, so it is necessary to scale other services except the payment service, or it can be something like that. During flash sale, customer looking for other products will be less. Okay, product catalogs, so they can scale only the traffic which is incoming for the new product. Okay, so they need not scale the complete system, whereas in traditional architecture they have to scale the complete architecture. Okay, by scaling the complete application, by scaling the complete application, resources are wasted. Okay, as example I told you, payment service which will not be scaled in microservice architecture will be scaled in traditional architecture, even though the number of payments done or the number of products sold during flash sale is limited. So the e-commerce site may be selling 1,000 mobile phones. The number of users can make payment is 1,000 only. So there is no need for scaling the payment service, but they need to scale the other service. The e-commerce site should support as number of as users visiting the site. Okay, the idea behind this is the customers who visit the site, they may not they have come for purchasing the flagship device, that is the flash sale device, but once they understand that they don't get this device, they'll go for other. It's a tactic of pulling the customers to the website. So we need to scale that traffic, not the payment traffic. This can be done in the microservices. Okay, we can scale whichever service I want. Okay, that is the granular scaling, which is not possible in traditional applications. Okay, this we have seen, and by this time we have understood why enterprises are adopting these microservices, because the application, the microservice application which is hosted on cloud provides different advantages. That is, based on demand, they can acquire the infrastructure and release the infrastructure. Okay, and the applications hosted on cloud are fault tolerant. Okay, and the load balancer is provided for distributing the load among the clusters which are running in the cloud. Okay, what do you mean by cloud? Cloud is nothing but a data center managed by the companies. Okay, Azure Microsoft maintains a data center, and the data center is called as Azure, and Amazon AWS data center. Okay, Google, it has its own data center. So that's what the data center is all about. And application, microservice application hosted on data center is cost effective. Okay, cost effective with all these features enabled. So that's what this slides speaks about. The next is architecture of microservices. Okay. Now see here, we have clients accessing the application from different devices. It can be mobile, desktop, or from applications which are running in cloud can access the services of this application. There can be service to service communication. Okay. So this is the architecture of microservice. Here, different clients from different devices try to use different services like search, build, configure, and other management capabilities. All these services are separated.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Mohan, sir. Sir, again, your voice is not audible, sir. Sir, Mohan, sir. Okay, dear participants, be in line. Few minutes. I'll call you back.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Mohan, sir. Mohan, BA, sir. Sir, please unmute your voice, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Hey, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's coming, sir.
Okay. Is PPT visible, sir?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, sir. Oh, okay. We were discussing about architecture of microservices, right? Here different clients from different devices try to use different services like search, build, configure, and other management capabilities, right? So different services are running in between clients and the backend, right? All these services are separated based on their domain and functionalities and are further allotted to individual microservices. All these functionalities are assigned to separate microservices. These functionalities management capabilities are running in separate microservices. All the microservices communicate with each other through a stateless server, which is either REST or messaging bus. Okay, below there is a bar that connects all the microservices for communication. Okay. Next is microservices know their path of communication with the help of service discovery. Okay, so microservices will know about other microservices with the help of service discovery. There is some daemon process running it is like a register. All the microservices has to register there. So each microservice can know about other microservices with the help of this service discovery. Okay. After discovering other microservices, they can perform operation. They can interact with those services. All the functionalities performed by microservices are communicated to client via API gateway. All the internal points are connected from the API gateway, so nobody who connects to API gateway automatically gets connected to the complete system. Okay, so when a user client request for a service, only that microservice will be active and providing the service to the client request. Okay. So what are the features of this microservice architecture? Decoupling. Services within a system are largely decoupled, so application as a whole can be easily built, altered, and scaled. Okay, this we have seen. Componentization. Microservices are treated as independent components that can be easily replaced and upgradable. Okay, and as we did, break down into components, those components can be easily replaced or upgraded. And business capability. Microservices are very simple and focus on a single capability, business capability. Autonomy. Developers and teams can work independently of each other, thus increasing speed. Okay, but parallelly, developers will be working on microservices. So continuous delivery allows frequent release of software through systematic automation of the software creation, testing, and approval. Okay, we have software tools for systematic testing and approvals. Okay, responsibility. Microservices do not focus on applications as projects. Instead, they treat application as products for which they are responsible. Okay, decentralization governance means each service can be maintained, managed by a separate team. That is decentralized governance. Agility. Any new feature can be quickly developed and discarded again. Okay, it can be easily tested by integrating it to the system, which is not feasible in the traditional architecture. Advantages: independent development, independent deployment, fault isolation, mixed technology stack, granular scaling. All these things we have discussed, right? Okay, best practices for designing microservice. Okay, first step is separate data store for each microservice. First step is we need to separate the database. All related database has to be in a single database. So like this, we'll separate the database so that only microservices which are related to that data will be accessing the database. Okay, keep code at a similar level of maturity. So we try to develop code, redesign it to the same maturity level. Okay, what will happen in traditional in monolithic architecture, developers will be focusing on one particular functions or minimum. They'll be focusing on very few features. They'll not be looking at overall features of the application. Whereas in this, they can focus on all the services. Okay, that's what it means. Separate build for each microservice. Okay, we can separately build each service and redeploy it. Okay, which is not feasible in monolithic architecture. Deploy into containers. Okay, this is one more important feature. These microservices will run on a separate containers. Okay, we all of you know virtual machines. Okay, instead of running services on virtual machines, we run it on containers. Containers is the next level of virtualization. Okay, virtual machines consumes most of the resources. So to avoid that, there is one more concept called containerization. So one more concept called as containers. We'll see how to run service on the containers. Okay, so containers utilize minimum resource to run an application. Treat services as stateless. Okay, if you treat service as stateful, then data, the application becomes slower and all the data will be cached. Okay, it consumes a lot of memory. If we design a service as stateless, then it did not store the memory, store the data, so the memory requirement is reduced. Okay, and these are the benefits we get from designing a server as stateless. Okay, I have a few examples here. Say, dividing or breaking down a monolithic architecture into microservice architecture looks like this. All the functionalities are grouped. We can scale whichever functionality I want. Suppose if I want to scale customer service, I'll add 2 more instances to this customer service services. If I want to add cards, I can only scale this card. Okay, this is called granular scaling, which is not feasible in traditional application. Okay, let me take a few real-time applications. Okay, examples. Here, monolithic architecture, you can see everything is tightly coupled, and all these functionalities will be accessing a single database that leads to bottleneck. Whereas in microservice architecture, we divide functionalities into different microservices: catalog, pricing, then merchandising, promotions, orders, notification. Okay, so this is one example. Other example is Uber application. Okay, so initially when it was developed monolithic, everything was in a single system. It was very difficult to update any one of the functionality. When it was migrated to microservice architecture, upgradation of a particular service has become very easy, and scaling of particular service is also easy. Okay, so how it looks like, the microservice architecture. Okay, now there is a clear separation. Okay, there is a clear separation of passenger management and driver management, and payments, billing, notifications. Okay, all these are separate. We can scale these services individually, whereas in this monolithic we cannot scale a particular function here. Okay, if I want to scale passenger management, I cannot scale it here. But whereas in microservice architecture, we can easily scale it. Okay, now companies migrated to microservices. So 80% of companies are migrated, and few companies are still in migration process, and others are still using monolithic. Okay, later they have to upgrade it to microservices. So the companies like Amazon, Netflix, Uber, Twitter, PayPal, eBay, LinkedIn, Spotify. Okay, so they're big companies who are migrated to microservices because of its advantages. Okay, next is containerization. We have divided the application into services. Now, how do we run this individual service? We need to have a separate system for individual service. No need to have a separate systems for to running an individual service. We have something called as containers. Okay, we'll see what are those containers. You know what is microservice? Single function services built by small teams, independent from other functions and communicating only through public interfaces. Okay, these microservices are great to run on containers. Okay, containerization has transformed how we deploy software and work with microservices. Okay, to enable microservice, we depend on containerization. When it comes to the implementation part, okay, till now we have seen the benefits by breaking down a complex application into microservices. Now, when it comes to the implementation, how do you implement? How do we deploy services on the systems? So we have a system called containerization that has transformed how the software was developed, and that is best suited to these types of services. Container is best suited to run these types of services. Okay. Kubernetes and Docker are two of the major players in container orchestration. Okay, so container orchestration means managing multiple services. Okay, if I want to manage multiple services, I need to run those services in the form of a cluster and manage those services. Okay, to do that, we have two major players. One is Kubernetes and Docker. Both these two tools enable you to handle a cluster of servers that run one or more services on them. Okay. What are containers? Containers are lightweight, efficient, and standard way for applications to move between environment and run independently. Everything needed to run the application is packaged inside the container object. Okay. What is that container? Container runs an application. That application has to be packaged. That should consist of code, runtime, system library, system tools, libraries, and dependencies. Everything packaged into a software package is called as container. Okay. Is container different from virtual machine? Yes. See here in the diagram, the disadvantage of virtual machine. Say I have 3 services. To run 3 services, if I spin up 3 virtual machines, the utilization of infrastructure will be more. Here I don't spin up the virtual machines. I believe you understand what do you mean by virtual machines. Virtual machine is a system, a virtual hardware, above that a virtual software running it. Okay, we can have different operating system on a different virtual machines. So both virtualized hardware as well as software will be running in each guest OS. Okay, that consumes a lot of resource infrastructure. Whereas when it comes to the container, we don't have virtual machines. We have something called as a container engine. Container engine, also called as a container orchestration system. Okay, that manages multiple services. Here, all these applications can be services running on container engine. Okay, so okay, Docker Swarm and Kubernetes are 2 such orchestration tools. Okay. Okay, students, okay, students, shall we see the features like load balancing, fault tolerance? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, students. Now, to demonstrate all these features, what I have done is I've installed. Okay. To demonstrate all these features, I've installed 3 virtual machines. One is master node and other one is normal nodes. Okay, master will be managing nodes in the cluster. Okay, I will create a cluster locally and I will show you how these services run in the cluster. Okay, students have worked on virtual machines. This is the manager node. I have one manager node and 2 worker nodes. Okay. Now I will create a cluster. What I'm going to do is I'll create a cluster of 3 nodes. And when I start this service is distributed among these 3 nodes. Okay. 3 nodes, and we'll see what if one node fails. Okay. The instances or the services which are running in one node will be shifted to the other nodes. It can be a master node or worker node. Okay. So I'm trying to create a virtual cloud here and deploy certain services in this virtual cloud, and we'll see what if one node fails, how load balance is done, and how scale up and scale down is done. totally, I'm creating a cluster of 3 nodes. One is the manager node, other 2 are worker nodes. Okay. Now I can run an application that is microservice application in this cluster. Okay. If that application has n services, all those services will be distributed across n nodes and they'll run parallelly. Okay, without any user intervention or without any okay. Now the manager node has come up. I've installed software tools to monitor the cluster. Okay, monitor the cluster. This is node 1 and this is node 2. Okay, I've created virtual machines. Each virtual machine is nothing but a separate system in the network. We can connect multiple systems in the network and provide the like a small data center we can create. Okay, in data center we'll be running applications. If one node in the data center fails, what will happen? That load will be taken by the other services, other nodes working in the cluster. So for the demonstration of the application, what I'll do, I'll run a web server. We'll treat that web server as an application. Okay. Now what I'll do, I will create multiple instances of the web server application, and I will spread across multiple nodes. And we'll see what will happen if one node fails. That instances will be moved to other working nodes. Okay. This demonstration we'll see now. Okay, so when we set up the manager node, it generates a token, unique token. So this token is used by worker nodes to join the cluster. Okay, now I'll show you how to display that token. This is the command docker swrm swarm join token worker node. Okay, this token is for worker node to join. This is the unique fingerprint generated by the manager node. The other nodes, if they wishes to join this cluster, they have to use this token. Okay, so I'll copy this token and I'll run in other nodes to join the cluster. Initially, only manager was there in the cluster. We'll try to add other nodes to the cluster. Okay, see, I was talking about a web application, okay, as a web server as an application. Now I hosted that in the container, in the cloud. Okay, now we need to run the visualizer tool to see to visualize the cluster. Okay, now the cluster has started. Okay, this is the cluster of 3 nodes. See here, the number of instances running is 2 instances. This is treated as a separate service. If I want to scale a particular service, okay, there is a command. Just I'll run that command. You can see multiple instances created, replicated. Okay, that is scaling up or scaling down. When the traffic increases to the e-commerce website, they have to scale the instances. Okay, so how it is done? I'll run the command. Already, I think I have that command, right? It is very simple. Docker swarm scale. Scale. What is the name of the service I want to scale up? If that service name is NGINX web. Number of instances. Initially, NGINX web is 1 instance. Now I will replicate this instance. 4. Okay. Docker spelling mistake. Docker service scale, not swarm. Docker service. See here, this NGINX web has a scale to 4 instances, and these two virtual machines. This is one virtual machine and this is another virtual machine. They have joined the cluster, and few instances are running on these nodes. Okay, so still these 2 services are starting. So we'll do one test. Okay, 2 have started, 2 are running, and 2 are starting. So it takes time. Okay, no problem. By this time, what we'll do, we'll try to, okay, started. Now we'll try to shut down a node. We'll try to shut down this node. When we shut down this node, this instance will not be destroyed. It will be moved to the other working nodes. Okay, it can be a manager or worker. Okay, how to shut down the system? We'll go to that node and we'll shut down the system, or we'll stop or we'll leave the cluster. We'll execute a command to come out from the cluster. Docker swarm swarm leave. Sudo su docker swarm leave. So when this node 2 left the swarm, now node 2 has come out from the swarm. Now the system will go down and this instance will be moved to other nodes. But this is example for fault tolerance. See, this node is down now. The instance in which the instance which is running in this node will be moved to other node. See, the instance has come to this node. If I want to scale up few more services or scale down, let me scale down this service. Okay, how to scale down? Number of instances are running are 4. Let me change it to 1. Scale down. This is scale down. Now you can see multiple instances of a service has been reduced to 1. This is called granular scaling. Okay, a particular service can be scaled up or scaled down depending upon the demand. Okay, depending upon the demand. As I am running multiple VMs in the same system, in a single system, it is a little slower. Otherwise, you would have seen the number of instances reduced to 1. Okay, and all these services we can access through well-defined API. Okay, the port on which it is running is 8000. Other services is localhost 8002, 8002, 8082, to 8082. See, we got the response from the services. If I start one more service on different port, I can access those service from this browser. Okay, so that's all, students. It is time consuming. That's all. That's all. This is the end of the PPT. Okay, the end of presentation. Okay. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma. Thank you. What about others?
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah, please tell, ma. Ask, ma.
Sir, just now you showed that nodes demonstration, no?
Right,
There we have stopped one node, right?
right, ma.
And it moved to some other place. Like
Yeah,
if we
instance
stop
node.
the other, like if we stop the other nodes, will they go, or like will they move to the same row, or will it go like it depends on something else?
Yeah, see, initially there were 3 nodes. If one node fails, the instances running in that node move to other node. Okay, if that node fails, it will if node 1 fails, all the instances running here will move to the manager node. If manager node fails, then the whole system will be down. Okay, whole system will be down. But practically, here I have taken only 3 nodes. Practically in a cloud, there can be a cluster of 1000 nodes, 100 to 1000 nodes. Okay, if one node fails, that load will be the load will be taken by other nodes which are in the cluster. Okay,
Yes, sir.
it answered your question. I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here
If
for demo.
manager node fails, then whole system will break down.
Yeah, whole system will break down, and we can have multiple managers also. Okay, in a cluster we can have multiple managers also. If one manager fails, other backup manager will take over the management process. Okay,
Okay, so this will happen only in micro. I mean, it will happen only in microservice, right?
right, right.
In traditional service, if one breaks down, like everything will be collapsed.
Everything will be collapsed, and there is no feature of granular scaling. Right, if I
Yes,
want to
sir.
scale the application, I have to scale entire application, which is which consumes more resources. Whereas here, as I told, if I want to scale only the payment service, I can scale it. Okay, see,
Yes, sir.
for you I have shown the manually controlling the instance of services, but there is one more tool along with this Docker Swarm called Docker Composer. Okay, you can automate all these processes. Say suppose I can write that if number of incoming requests is around 1000, span one more node, spin up one more node, and increase the number of services. Okay, something like that. I can automate the process of scaling up and down using the ML scripts.
Yes, sir.
Okay, same thing happens in flash sale also. Initially, there will be minimum number of nodes and instances running, services running in the cloud. When at the time of flash sale, okay, at the time of flash sale, as the number of requests increases, the manager node automatically adds few more nodes and scales up the services running in those nodes. Okay, to provide the service to the customers. That's what it's happening in the real time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, student. Shall I execute? Shall I scale up these services? See, there are 2 services. One is NGINX Web. Other one is NGINX New Web. I can scale any one service. Let me scale now NGINX New Web. I can scale to any number of instances. See, when I scale 10 instances, you can see all those 10 instances will be running across the nodes in the network. But one node is down. Let me bring up that node, this node. How to bring up this node? I've shown you the manager node, token generated by the manager node. That token, using the token, we will try to add node to the node 2 to the cluster. Okay. What is that command? Docker swarm join token worker. Okay, this is the token generated. I'll use this token to join a node to the cluster. Join a node to the cluster. Okay, node 2 is down, right? Now I'll execute this command in node 2. You can see that this node joins the cluster. Okay, joins this cluster. Node 2. When I execute this, it will join. This node joined a swarm as a worker. Now see, this has joined.
Excuse me, sir. Mohan, sir. Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. Gopinath, sir. Lohita.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Add on to this point, what sir is explaining. I want to add one more point. Okay, in till that sir will join shortly. In our operating system, you studied a multi-process system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there in multi-process system, you can find two types of system. One is a symmetric system, and another one is asymmetric multi-process system. So
Yes, sir.
there, the same topic what Sarah has explained just now, we have found that like a master and slave relationship. Like all the
Yes, sir.
master systems, it will allocate the work for the slaves. Then the
Yes,
slave,
sir.
yeah, same this one we can synchronize to this topic.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Here, manager acts as a master and
Yeah.
remaining nodes acts as slave.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, sir.
Even if it is any problem for the manager, then all the remaining slaves has to identify one node as the manager. Then that particular node, it will act like a manager part. Like it's like again, it is decided by the rest of the nodes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, just a minute. I'll call sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir Mohan sir.
Pramod?
Yes sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Please tell me, sir. Sir, that's all I think, sir. Hello, students. Any doubts?
Sir, I just want to add one point to this.
Yes, madam. Yes, ma'am.
So we have multiprocessor system in operating system, right? There we have master-slave relationship, right?
Right, ma. Right.
So will it work in the same way, right? Like here, there are like manager and nodes, no?
Right, ma'am.
Like manager acts as master and nodes acts as a slave. If even like it will manager will assign tasks to these nodes.
Right,
Like
ma'am.
will it work in the same way?
Yes, ma'am. What I've done is I've created a virtual machine in the system, but this you can do it physically on in a lab. If you have at least 3 to 4 systems, you can run Docker software on these multiple systems and create a cluster out of these 4 systems and run the applications, microservice applications, microservice enabled applications. You can run it. You can do on multiple systems also. For demonstration purpose, I've taken virtual machines here. This virtual machines is nothing but your physical machine.
Yes. So, sir, as like here we are having so many managers, like we can have multiple managers, right?
Right, ma'am.
So here all these managers act as master, or like only one of the manager will be the most, it's like most important than the rest.
Yeah. One manager will be monitoring all the nodes and it will be assigning the tasks and getting the responses. If that fails, then other manager will come up.
Yes, sir. In the beginning, it will only one manager will be taking care of the rest of the nodes. Even if we
Yes,
have
yes, ma'am.
multiple, only one will be taking care.
Right, right.
Okay, sir.
Only one manager will be managing the whole network. Oh, that is the whole cluster.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, to run microservice enabled applications, cloud is the best infrastructure. Okay, cloud is the best infrastructure as it supports dynamic scaling and fault tolerance and other features. It is always run in cloud.
Okay, sir.
Okay, you have a subject on cloud computing.
Yes, sir. It's like optional. We have chosen INS, like information network and security.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Okay. See, the softwares that needed for you to experiment this, to work on this is Docker software. You install Docker software. It also comes with Docker Swarm and Docker Composer. Okay. You can
sir.
try out whatever we have done in today's session. Okay, by yourself. There are a lot of YouTube videos. You follow 2 or 3 videos. You can easily set up the environment and work few example programs on this, example applications on this. It's
Yes,
very
sir.
easy. Only thing is you have to dedicate some time. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Any more doubts?
Dear students, any more doubts, any more questions, you are always free to ask now. Sir will be going to clarify your doubts. Sir, Mohan sir?
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Yeah. I think no more doubts. I think we can
Okay,
proceed further. I think so. Anyway, we can continue further, right? Any doubts, students?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. I think I'm done. Okay, students. All the best. Whenever you're free, you try to download, set up the environment, and practice it. Okay. In the future, you might have heard of DevOps, right? DevOps is continuous development and integration of the software, a continuous developing, testing, deployment of the software, which uses these concepts. Okay, these are the basic concepts. Software engineers should be aware. Okay. Okay, students. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your cooperation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma. Uh,
1 minute. Pramod?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gopinath, sir.
What of thanks? Shall I give it or
Will you give, sir?
shall I give it? Okay, fine. Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. And sir, just a minute. Dear students and participants, I shared the feedback link in your chat box. Please fill that feedback link. Even we will share in your WhatsApp group. So you can find the feedback link in your chat box.
Yeah, that's good, Professor Pramod.
Yes, sir.
So I'll take 1 minute. So thanks, Professor sir. You invested all the way and you for a complete 1.5 hours. You have
Thank you, sir.
demonstrated to our student. It is really helpful, Professor Mohan sir.
Sir,
Thank you.
thank you very much. It's my pleasure, sir.
Yeah. And only Miss Lohita, Bellal Lohita has asked doubts and other students are not participating actively. Okay, so I request all the students to proactive and utilize the session and try to ask the doubts and utilize the resource, because we found difficulties to bring all the way the resource. Your Professor Gopinath sir has brought all the way, and it is you don't know how much difficulty it is organizing and bringing the resource. Okay, all the students must utilize this opportunity. Only Lohita has taken and involved completely. I appreciate that girl. Okay, so please others also work out and involve completely. Thank you. So over to Professor Gopinath.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable words, sir. So thank you, everyone. So it is my great pleasure being with you all today through this online platform. So first of all, I would like to thank our Dr. Mohan sir for giving a valuable insights regarding the cloud computing. That is, again, sir has taken the application side of that topic here. So just you can see that is the microservices and containerization. So has given a valuable inputs and how to set up the platform at your system and work on these application sites. So thank you, Mohan sir, for your valuable inputs to our students, to all of us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Then, so now I would like to thank everyone. So it is a great pleasure with you we all this day here. I would like to thank everyone who made this meeting possible here. And I would like to give a special thanks to our resource person of the day today, that is a Mohan sir, for his valuable words and being part with us. That is the main first of all thing is accepting our request and giving a special lecture to our students, to all of us. I would like to thank Mohan sir, and also I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Jitendranath Mungar sir, for providing and giving all the support in organizing this, and also our Dr. Mohan Kumar sir, Dean, Quality Assurance, for being the backbone of this, all the events that is happening here. I would like to thank Mohan sir also. And I would like to give my special thanks to our HOD sir, so that is Dr. Dinesh sir, for being throughout this session and giving that, observing what are all the inputs. And he has also given a motivational words to the students to be active in the session, because it is very, as sir said, it's very difficult to bring a resource person and give a talk to you, because everyone is busy. In that busy schedule, also the Mohan sir has accepted our request and has given a presentation here. So I would like to thank our HOD sir, Dr. Dinesh sir, also being the part of you. So finally, I would like to thank everyone who made this event successful. So Mohan sir, Dean sir. Dean sir.
Sir, I think sir is not there, sir. I think just now sir
Okay.
left the meeting.
Okay. Sir, Dinesh sir, shall we wind up now, sir?
Yeah,
Dinesh,
we
sir?
can exit.
Dinesh?
Yeah. We can.
Yeah.
Session is ended. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Got the
Sir.
next
Thank
one.
you, Mohan sir. Once again, thank you to Mohan sir.
Sir, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dinesh, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, all the students. Bye. for being a part of this event. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Pramod.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dinesh, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you.